Hello? No. Ross is asleep at the wheel. Yes, Ross, have you got that?
There will be no carbon tax under the government I lead.
And her deputy Swan said?
No, it's not possible that we're bringing in a carbon tax. That is an hysterically inaccurate claim being made by the coalition.
Now, I say that because she's lying now about what the tax is going to do to the economy. And she's spending $36 million of your money advertising the package of bribery. $36 million. She spent $68 million on advertising in the second half of last year. Well, thank God for people like Donna LaFramboise, who's sitting right here in the studio with me. She's touring Australia. Her presentation is The Real Story of Climate Change and the IPCC. But it follows the publication of her book last year, and you might remember I interviewed her at the time. The book was called The Delinquent Teenager Who Was Mistaken for the World's Top Climate Expert. She named nearly half a dozen lead authors involved in the IPCC reports over the years who were barely out of college when they were tapped on the shoulder to author the final definitive Bible on the effects of climate change. She said to me at the time, and I'm quoting from the interview, "We've been told for the past 2 decades that the climate Bible was written by the world's foremost experts. The fact is, you're just not qualified without a doctorate. In academia, you aren't even on the radar at that point." But she said, these papers, which are the cornerstone for trillions of dollars worth of government climate funding, and she claimed the reports of the IPCC were written by graduate students with little or no experience in their field of study, whose efforts normally might be barely enough to satisfy graduate school requirements. Hence the title of her address here in Australia now, courtesy of the Institute of Public Affairs. I'll give you the details later. The Real Story of Climate Change in the IPCC. Now, I'll let you know where you can hear this very impressive lady, but she's right here beside me. Donna LaFramboise, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. What do you make of all of this? You've not been in a radio studio like this, have you?
No, this is fabulous. Organized chaos.
That's good. Yeah, don't make it sound too impressive. Down there, they don't know anything about it. They think I'm in some little canvas tent here. Keep up the image. But, you know, we've had 18 pieces of legislation rammed through our federal parliament to give us the most comprehensive and costly carbon dioxide tax in the world, which will do nothing to reduce carbon dioxide emissions, but it's going to put a stake through the heart of the Australian economy.
Insanity. Insanity. You know, as an outsider, I look at what Australia is doing, and I'm puzzled because you are going to hurt your economy, and there is no possible way that you can meet your carbon reduction targets. No possible way. Roger Pilkey Jr. is a professor at the University of Colorado, and he recently wrote about Australia. He called the piece "Welcome to Fantasy Island," and he said, before, I used to call the UK Fantasy Island, but on July 1st the title passed to Australia.
Right, and here's they're laughing at us around the world. You've got people like Al Gore running around the world with slides of bushfires in Victoria and Russia, floods in Queensland and Pakistan, droughts in Texas and France, people drowning in China, children starving in Africa, koalas being singed in Australia in bushfires, and every weather event is the consequence of man-made global warming. I mean, the bloke should be put in the dock. What?
Yes, he has certainly helped to misinform the entire world. I think that's a fair statement.
It is, and he was a candidate for the presidency of the United States.
Yes, he was. How do these people rise so high?
I just don't know. And I mean, how do they get away with it?
Well,
I mean, there's not one chapter in any of these IPCC reports that links global warming, man-made global warming, with any change in the climate. Not one chapter anywhere. And I've challenged people all over the world. They can't give you an answer.
Yes, and I think it starts because we've been raised since children to believe that humans are reckless and we're selfish and that we're going to destroy the planet. And you know, when you've been told that since you were 3 years old, you start to believe it. And so I think that's part of the explanation why this global warming mania has taken such firm hold. We've been taught from the very beginning that we're going to destroy the planet, and I think there's not a lot of evidence of that.
No. We have a Dr. Dennis Jensen here in the federal parliament. He is the only PhD qualified scientist in the parliament. In a speech last year, you'd be interested in this, when this legislation was being rammed through the parliament, he talked about the dodgy science, and he said, quote, I do not accept the premise of anthropogenic climate change. I do not accept we're causing significant global warming, and I reject the findings of the IPCC and its local scientific affiliates. And, this is the key, he sought to table some of his scientific evidence.
Yes.
The Gillard government prevented him from tabling the documentation in the Parliament, so there would be no record of what Jensen wanted to be on the record. The request was refused and reasons given. These people are terrified, aren't they, of being made complete fools?
I think they are. They've invested a lot in the global warming scare, and it's very hard now for them to back down. And unfortunately, they're choosing to go forward. And by doing so, they're going to hurt a lot of people and kill a lot of jobs.
Absolutely.